Hello, everyone, and welcome to Valentine Consulting's YouTube channel guest speaker series. My name is Dr. Daisy Valentine with Valentine Consulting. Sorry, we are a little bit late. Technical difficulties, especially when you're doing live presentations. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about me really quickly. We have an amazing guest speaker today, and we'll get to her in just a second. I'm super excited. I am Dr. Daisy Valentine, again, CEO of Valentine Consulting, and I am thrilled to invite you to our dynamic YouTube channel with wonderful guest speakers as the one we have today. And I can't wait to introduce her in just a second. But please like and subscribe and get your notifications so that you know when we are hosting a live. We have some wonderful speakers coming up in the next several months and beyond. They go beyond entrepreneurs, professionals, organizations that thrive to help us know a lot more about our different leaders in our community and beyond. So don't think it's just right here in Minnesota. It also is outside of Minnesota because we want to build opportunities for our community to get to know and grow and learn throughout the different discussions of these experts and their perspectives. So excited to have you today. I'm so excited to be here with Brenda Sanchez. She is the Director of Leadership Programs at LatinoLEAD. So Brenda, we are so excited to have you. We were trying to do this before and it didn't happen, but we are here. We finally got you. And I don't know what's going on with the world today or the universe, but hey, we have you here today and we're so excited. So tell us a little bit about you, professional and personal. We want to hear so much about you. Thank you so much for being here.
No. Thank you for having me through all the technical difficulties and all that good stuff. We are here and the universe wants us here together now. So thank you so much. Like you said, my name is Brenda Sanchez. And honestly, Dr. Daisy, I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl who is also a leader, a sister, a daughter, someone who loves to work with programs in my job. I'm a community member. But I'm honestly just a human being who is really proud of being Mexican American, really proud of being Mexicana, and just someone who is also just very excited to give back to my community. And so I am all of those things. I am intersectional. I am all of the above, and I'm just happy to be here. But I'm just a person.
That is amazing. I love that you say that. It shows your humility. It shows who you are and why you, if anybody doesn't know that, why they don't want to get to know you. Okay. Because this is so important to everybody. Now, tell me a little bit. I know you're not from Minnesota, right? You're not from Minnesota originally, are you?
I was born in Chicago.
Okay. My town. Okay.
Yeah, from the shy, little village for those that are familiar with Chicago. I was born to two Mexican immigrants, and then when I was young, and my parents split, I moved to Minnesota. So I grew up here, and I consider myself a Mexicana. So yeah.
Oh, I like the way that is. I'm gonna have to say I'm a mini Puerto Rican. Mini Puerto Rican, because I was born in Philly, raised in Chicago, and went to Florida and end up in Minnesota. So I've been there. I've been that way. So that is so awesome. So what inspired you? Like, I know you say you're just a human, things like that, but what inspired you to pursue a career and learn and be part of so many great programs in the community that are focused on leadership, that are focused on social change, especially in our Latine, Latinx, whatever community, because I'm just going to throw it all out there. What inspired you?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. I would say there's two main things that sparks my fire. And one of them is simply my parents. Like, being the daughter of mixed status working class immigrants really like fuels your energy. Like, I remember being a kid watching, I don't know, whatever was on Nickelodeon and being like, how are they wealthy, but my parents work very hard and they don't have the same outcomes. So there was that. That was my pre-sociology in the making. And then I was always impressed by local leaders, like regular people that look like me and you, and realize that greatness lies with us. The change lies with us, right? The people who show up every day, right? And so that, like both like my anger for the social inequalities that my parents experience, and just being inspired by incredible community leaders, I was like, all right, this is what I got to do. I got to create a chamber of something where they can be together, help each other out, and create the changes that they want to see. And so I want to create programs and leaders who give back to their communities, who recognize, where they come from, that they want to make the change that they want to see. And just being able to work with those kinds of folks, right? I mean, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of intelligence, brilliance, right, in our
Mm-hmm.
community. And LatinoLEAD is an organization that is meant to uplift those folks. And so it's my job to help you get to your dreams. And
And
so,
that's amazing. I love it. I love it. I love that because I heard what you said, and I'm gonna take this to a level where I hear where you're embracing the cultural heritage, right? Not only in your personal and professional identity, and then bringing it to that leadership style. And that really helps other future leaders, right, to see what you are trying to do. And I love the fact that you said your parents, right? Immigrant parents, and seeing that working two jobs. Even though I don't have immigrant parents, I have immigrant deals because my aunts married, Mexicans, right?
right.
So I have immigrant deals and tias and stuff like that. So I see them and I see what you're saying, even when they were working like two jobs, three jobs, that
Yep.
helps structure what we see, right? What we need to help out with. Now, looking ahead, okay,
Yeah.
because of what you brought up, looking ahead, what changes do you hope to see in this Latina presentation in leadership positions that is going to embrace what you're doing with LatinoLEAD and how you see it in that culture?
Yeah, yeah. I am just really interested right now, I think, in the concept of impact and unity. And so I want to talk a little bit about maybe the impact first, because to me,
Hmm.
that's kind of what I hope to see. Both me personally and LatinoLEAD, right, exist to advance leaders that are Latino professionals, right? However, we can help them. And
Hmm.
so, in the LatinoLEAD hat, right, our services are designed to help you become the leader that you want to be, regardless of where you are in your career or what sector. And there's like all kinds of things, right? From workshops, panels, training opportunities, to working with corporate ERGs, right, or executive leaders to understand like what they're looking for in our leaders. And my role and my team is committed to doing what we can to train our community, using both like research and lessons from our network, right? Our gente, they're telling us what they want, and we got to listen,
Hmm.
to help inform what works best for Latinos. And so, with that, I also want to really make sure that we don't lose sight of what we want to do in terms of like changing our world, right? You've heard the
Hmm.
quote, right? That's like, be the change you want to see. And I
Contribute
really think that,
to breaking down those barriers, right? Because that's what you're talking about, right?
yeah, yeah. And so I think for me, like looking ahead in areas that are maybe like we're talking about like Latino representation or leadership positions, or whatever, I think that and what I want is Latinas, right, to change systems that don't work for us anymore, or other
Hmm.
marginalized communities. Yes, I want more Latinos, right, in elected office and in senior leadership positions, and more Latinos getting higher education, right, and so forth. Like I want all of those things that, a lot of people, share as well. But I don't want them to be recreating the same harms our systems are currently doing. So if you're fortunate enough to be elected, to be in a position of power, that you're recognizing that you are now in a very powerful position to make change. So what does that mean? Like Latinos, right, we're so family oriented, right? La familia is everything. And
Hmm.
so we claim to be family, right, all about family. How does our work culture promote being family oriented? And that might challenge a few things, right? That might challenge.
Exactly, exactly. So when you're talking about that, how does it bring in? Can you just emphasize a little bit about the importance of the Latina unity? Because that is family, okay? How do you define that Latina unity, and why is it so crucial in today's professional and social landscape, as you were just mentioning? You know, Like maybe giving me a specific instance at this where you've seen this, where you want to see it in action. Like you're mentioning family, and that's what Latine for me means. Latine unity is like not only seeing us as our culture, or even because we could say even as people of color, we have that in that too. It makes a mix. So how does that embrace that? Like, give me some examples, or how would you define that?
I actually don't think that unity is necessarily just a definition. To me, it's an action and it's a
Mm-hmm.
practice. So we see that when community leaders, allies, and advocates, right, we come together intentionally to learn, to connect, and to inspire each other. And so it's really just having that intent to listen and that intent to center our values, right, in the actions that we do. And so I think it's important for us, right, when we're trying to be united, to have these critical conversations around policy, to network and create opportunities for each other. And so I think that there's more things that bring us together that bring us apart, or
Mm-hmm.
that gets more divisive. But I want to say, like, examples of this happens at the large scale and at the small scale.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Absolutely.
yesterday, for our listeners that are maybe not from Minnesota, just yesterday, a lot of people came together on Lake Street. And just to contextualize our out of state listeners, Lake Street is in South Minneapolis, and there is a lot of East and West African immigrants, and including Latino immigrants, right, that have a lot of businesses and live in that area. And
Mm-hmm.
so essentially, that's where I go para mis tortillas, okay?
Exactly.
Um,
I have a different place, but that's where I go to when I go out to in Minneapolis area.
exactly. Exactly. And so, and it's a very important cultural area, I think, for Latinos and especially Mexican immigrants. And just yesterday, I saw folks come together on Lake Street to advocate for immigrants. And so you can read about this, right, on NPR, right, and other news sites. But
Mm-hmm.
it was really beautiful to see Latinos and non-Latinos, right, and our allies who are either citizens, either by birth or naturalization, who are undocumented, whoever they are in between, right,
Mm-hmm.
show up and to help combat that hateful narrative that's being spewed right now. And Lake Street is so important too, because not only were we advocating for human rights then, but in 2020, Lake Street was also the site of the uprisings during after the murder of George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
And after the murder of George Floyd, what I also saw was Latinos come together, right, including business owners,
Mm-hmm.
right, to show up on Lake Street. And we brought food, water, supplies. We prayed, we held hands, right. We were
Mm-hmm.
monitoring traffic,
To support
too,
our entire community,
to
not
support.
just the Latinette, but the entire community
Yes.
after the situation with George Floyd. I was going to mention that, but you mentioned it prior too. I was going to say that's where Lake Street, if you're looking for the memorial of George Floyd, that's when you're talking about Lake Street, is right in that area. Now, you talk about how everyone came together at this event. I wish I would have known about it. I probably would have been there. I didn't know about it. I was at church though, so I was praying for everybody. We were praying about everybody, so I'm glad that's good. We've been praying because I do go to a Spanish church, so we do have that struggle, right? Everybody, even in your religion, has struggles in your community of religion. So we know that Minnesota has been known for its vibrant Latinx culture and community, because a lot of people are like, I didn't even know there was that many Latinos. Well, believe me, 17 years ago, I didn't know there was that many Latinos in Minnesota either. Okay, until I found LatinoLEAD about 5 or 6 years ago. I think I've been with LatinoLEAD since like 2018 or 2017. I don't even remember when Irma was just one person in there. So how has living in Minnesota, because I know you say you've been, Chicago to Minnesota, whatever, and I know you left Minnesota, came back, but how does living in Minnesota influence your work at LatinoLEAD, and what makes Minnesota a unique place for our Latino or Latinx unity to thrive? I think that's really important, because I hear what you said about Lake Street, and I needed to bring this question in because it
Mhm.
kind of like correlates.
Yeah. I think for me, growing up in Minnesota as a Mexican American, is very interesting because in a way I've always felt like I wanted more. Like growing up, I remember being like, "Oh, I want to see more Latinos," or I'd always compare it to Chicago and everything like
Mhm.
that, right? And I think we do that a lot.
Mhm.
And then I have to tell myself, you need to stop because what I've also realized, right, in my years here, right, there's so many Latinos in Minnesota, and there's so many, so many businesses, and our ecosystem is expanding. Our Latino community has made significant contributions to this state,
Mhm.
our culture, our economy, and our identity. And so when I think about even just the population, I mean, it is growing, right? And it
Mhm.
is growing in the Twin Cities, like to Worthington, right? Like we
It's
have,
growing everywhere. Like I'm already seeing Latinos in Farmington, like south of the cities, and it was never like that. It was more north of the cities, and it's coming more and more. So
yeah.
that's so amazing that you were saying that. So give me a little bit more of what you were trying to say.
Yeah, and I think that with that expansion, we're able to grow our food, right, our arts, and our politics. And we've created services and organizations like LatinoLEAD, right, that serve specifically our community. And so we are. I believe I'm correct in saying this, but Latinos are like one of the most entrepreneurial groups, right, in the United States. And so that you will see that we have so many Latino-owned businesses. Abogados Cafe, La Loma Tamales is where I go every Christmas because I'm sorry I'm not making tamales yet. Uh,
You need to give
right,
me a secret place. I make
exactly.
pasteles Puerto Rican style. It's like the tamales Puerto Rican style,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't make the tamales. I leave that to my aunt and uncle. And yeah, but you need to share that.
I
Like myself, I'm a Latina
yeah.
business.
Yep, exactly, exactly, and it is growing and it is thriving, and
Mhm.
and and we also are seeing that and with political representation too, right? I'm thinking about this is interesting because when I was a kid, I didn't really see representation, and I'm from Columbia Heights. It's a suburb outside of Minneapolis, and now the mayor is Latina. Mayor
Mhm.
Amada Marquez, like Simula, right? Like, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, where was she when I was a child? But she's here now.
Exactly.
Or Representative Maria Isa, right? Who is at the House. Like our political representation has also increased. And we're also building a museum too. Hey, shout
Exactly. I
out.
mean, we're so shout out to that. I'm so excited. But you know what the
Yeah.
other thing too is that me and you both, we grew up in areas that we saw diversity.
Hmm.
Okay? We didn't see color. We didn't see the differences, Yeah, there was fights between our Latinos and whatever because there's always, other fights
Yeah.
in between our different culture, our own culture. But I didn't grow up, I grew up, I was in Philly because Philly, New York, whatever,
Sure.
from that area to Chicago to Florida, I never saw what you're stating. And I was the same way. I'm like, why is it that we don't see Latino representation in our Senate and our this? And then as I started seeing it, I'm like, yeah, yeah, but it was as an adult, right?
Yeah.
And once I moved to Minnesota, my passion was to come here to be not only an educator, but an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And my passion brought me here because I saw that I thought there wasn't a lot of representation here. And there wasn't at first, right,
Hmm.
in Minnesota. But as I started getting to know and reaching out and starting getting connected because I was connected to the National Entrepreneur Center in Florida, which is what houses all the different organizations, from every different chamber, every different thing in one place. And I'm like, I want that here. And there is everybody's segregated, every chamber is segregated here, everything, until I found LatinoLEAD and found how we're trying to make those connections through this organization. You guys are trying to make these connections to be part of not just the Latino community, but the color community, the mujeres, all these different sectors, to show that we are represented in every sector. You know,
Absolutely.
there's Latinos that are represented in every sector of the area. And I just want you to tell me something. I want you to I want you to give some advice, okay? I want you to bring some advice to our young Latin professionals because we've been there. We've been there, seen it, all that. Now, what looking to create, these Latino professionals, these young people, okay, that are coming in, and we want them to look for, a strong network,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Allies, mentors in their respective fields. What would you say to them? Like, how can LatinoLEAD help, first of all? But what would you say to them, like yourself, when you were talking about when you were younger, things like that? What would you like to see change? And how can you get those professionals now to be more astute, to be more of our new generation, the future generation, to continue the work that you guys are doing?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I would tell them, ponte las pilas, which, so turn on the battery and charge the battery too. I understand you got to rest, but I think that often, especially, I think for me, especially when I was younger, I really wanted to fit in. And
Hmm.
so, like, for me, that meant assimilation. And I sometimes, I think in that, especially when I was younger, I rejected our heritage as a form of survival. And in doing so, I did the opposite of survival. In doing so, I rejected important parts of myself, and it was impacting me in negative ways. And in doing so, I also just wasn't authentic to myself. And then I realized, oh my gosh, like, I have so much power and resilience and assets because, right, I am the daughter of immigrants, because, right, soy mujer, because I work hard, all of these things that make me me. And I was like, okay, we can't reject that anymore.
Hmm.
And so, first and foremost, I would tell them to embrace who you are and recognize that you have so much potential and that your culture is an asset and not a deficit. And so when you realize that, you do better. You are more authentic, and people respect that too. I think people
Hmm.
really respect that authenticity, or they see when you're being real. And I want to be a leader that meets my expectations, right?
Hmm.
That meets my goals, that meets like who I want to be. And I hope that I'm able to lead by example and lead with empathy and never forget the impact I want. Um, but with that, you just got to go for it, man. Like,
Right, and you can't neglect who you are and where you came
exactly.
from, right? I had one of my sons, when he was growing up, the oldest, that kept telling me that he didn't like listening to Spanish music, right? He just didn't
Mhm.
want to listen to it. He's about to be 30 soon, and I'm not going to call him out here or anything, but he was that he grew up in speaking Spanish. Like, he grew up with babysitters that were Spanish, babysitters that were in different countries, because I wanted him to be in the culture.
Sure.
I didn't want them to grow up not speaking Spanish, and he was the one that didn't want to speak Spanish, and didn't want to do it and didn't want to do it. And funny thing is, now he's married to a Mexican.
Mhm.
And now he has to learn Spanish out of more, right? And I'm like, you should have learned it. It was something free. Now you're paying to learn it. How are you doing this? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
now my youngest son is the same thing. Like, at one point he was like, I don't like speaking Spanish, or they wouldn't recognize that he was Latino, you
Mhm.
know? And I'm like, no, we need to show you that it's okay, you know? It's okay to speak your language. It's okay to know your language. It's okay to embrace who you are, no matter what country you are, and no matter what language you speak. You need to embrace your culture because, yeah, we're talking about Latin here, but it goes for anyone that is an immigrant that doesn't speak the same language in this country. You know, we need to embrace that, right?
Yeah.
So
And
now that we're talking,
I do think that when we were kids, we're really trying to fit in and we don't want to
hmm
get bullied, and our friends are doing something else that we think is cool. And then you get older and you're like, oh, then it sits with you. And so, like, I think to our young people, I hope that oh moment is sitting right now, right?
exactly.
Right now, whether you're a high schooler or whatever it is, wherever you are, or younger, like, I think it's important for them to realize how necessary this is. And once you realize how necessary this is, then I feel like that's going to ignite that want, right, to go for the things that you want to go for. So like if you want to network, if you want to improve on your career, if you want to be more of that leader that you want to be, I know that sometimes that kind of stuff can be scary, right? Because I mean, hey, I was there too. But dude, you got to send the email, you got to attend the event, you got to introduce yourself, say what you're looking for, all that jazz, right? And then someone will be there to help. And then the flip side, I say this also to our more seasoned professionals too, right? And our elders, you got to give back your time too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because our young people also
Absolutely.
need you. So it goes both
Absolutely.
ways. We goes both
Yeah, it doesn't just go for what the young generation is looking for, but it also shows for us, because I say I'm seasoned, right? Because I'm there. I'm seasoned. People may not think that, but I'm seasoned for me to give back. And I've worked with Brenda in different elements out here in the community, and I brought in students.
Yep,
I bring the students with me. I show them what I do, how I do it, and I bring them and I embrace them and I tell them, hey, this is this person. You want to connect them. You want to connect them with the people that you know. If you don't know, then connect them with the organizations that can help them,
exactly.
right? Because that's one of those other things, how can we celebrate Latinx diversity in our day-to-day jobs, in our personal lives, without providing that information, okay, without providing it. And that's one of the things that I've embraced, because I'm trying to bring more towards south of Minneapolis, believe it or not. you know I've been working with LatinoLEAD on different committees,
Mhm.
and we've embraced going into different cities, other than greater Minneapolis, right?
Yeah.
Further south of Minneapolis, in some areas outside of Minneapolis,
Yep.
because they see what we're doing here and they want to bring it to their organizations in other states. Now that I mentioned that to you, what role does celebration play in fostering a sense of pride and empowerment within the community that can help us, and has helped you, like in your day-to-day work, in your personal life, help us to see this, Latinx diversity, especially, with our times now that people are even probably scared to speak Spanish right now
Mhm.
because of our situations going on in our community. But we also need to understand that there's ways that what you're going to share shortly, that we have our rights too. And if you don't know what your rights as a Latino in this country, or even an immigrant in this country in general, not just Latinos, where they can get those resources.
Yeah. I think celebrating the diversity in the community, and I realize that right now it might feel like a tough time in doing so. But I also was told recently that this isn't like, or was reminded, I should say, that this isn't like the first time our communities have felt either segregated or hurt or has been, or attacked. Our history here, in the context of the United States, has always been complex, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I also want to bring people back and say, hey, like, this isn't the first time we had a fight. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
the first time that we had to push back. This isn't the first time we had to organize. This wasn't the first time that you had to, also organize at church, at home, right? At schools, at
Mm-hmm.
different places. And it's probably not going to be the last either, but I hope that you can channel the power of your ancestors, because you will also have descendants. You will
Mm-hmm.
also one day be an ancestor. And
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to tell your descendants, right? When they talk about their ancestors, where are you, right, in that
In
history?
that generation, because it's going to be a generation to generation. Things
Exactly.
like this, have been around for years.
Mhm.
And like you mentioned, the generation, we want to teach our new generation how to tackle it, how to be more astute, how to understand the resources, how to understand their rights, because it also gives a sense of, do I just leave,
Mm,
right? Do I just leave this country thinking I had all these opportunities, and now it seems like they're taking it away from us? But that's not the case. It may seem like that, but as long as we know our rights, okay, as long as we know our rights, we know where we're coming from, we know where we're going, and teaching, like
yeah.
you said, us teaching the old generation, teaching the new generation how to move on to the next generation, right? Because the future is just going to get more and more complex, more
Mhm.
and more complex, right? It's not gonna it nothing's easy. Okay. A lot of people think it's easy, everything's easy. It's not easy to come to the
Oh,
States, okay? We're from the States. We were raised in the States, and it's still not easy for us, okay? It is not easy, especially when you're looking at Latina women in our community.
mhm.
Okay. It is so wonderful, like you mentioned, to see representatives like Maria Isa, like
Mhm.
the mayor, women, Latina women, and
Yep.
of course, Patricia Torre,
Yep.
Senadora, former Senador Patricia Torre, was the
Absolutely.
one that shared and started it off for us here in the state of Minnesota. But you don't see that in many states. You
No.
don't see women of color, just in general, stepping up to that space and making that space. And I think it's really important what you said is that we, as the seasoned professionals and leaders in the community, need to embrace our new generation and
Yeah.
be more astute to it. And I think this is the reason that this podcast has started with all our guest speakers, because I'm bringing people from all over, you
Yeah.
know, and I think it gives us a sense of richness
Yep.
and diverse history. It shows us, how we can, build a community, whether you're immigrant or Latino
Yep.
populations, right? And it just helps us see different things. So I want to say thank you so much for being here. This was an amazing conversation. And I just shared your platform here, like the link to what the programs that LatinoLEAD has, and how you can connect to Brenda. Like she said, she's just a person. She'll love to chat with you. And if you're in the community and you haven't met her yet, you need to say, "Hey, I need to meet you." Dr. Daisy said I needed to meet her. But you know, if you're a leader, and I want to shout this out, okay, Brenda, because I know you didn't mention too much about this, but I want to shout it out. Um, LatinoLEAD has a program, people. LatinoLEAD has a program called um, Avanzando Liderazgo. It's advancing leadership program that helps leaders or people starting up businesses or being just going into entrepreneurship or thinking of being an entrepreneur, that you can go and take this program and see where you at, see where you are. It's available to everyone that is in that space, not just Latinos, okay? Not just Latinos. And if you think that you are in that space, you're an effective leader, or you want to be, all backgrounds, all cultures, all walks of life, all career paths, it doesn't matter, reach out to Brenda, okay? Because this is a program that you may be thinking of versus going to college or something. You don't need to just necessarily get a college degree to do this, right? You can come here and check this out, check this program out. I think it's an amazing thing that LatinoLEAD has started, and it has helped many leaders in the community get to see how important it is to have that impact on our community and our youth, right? And build those do you have anything else to share about that?
Yes, I was gonna say thank you for bragging for me and doing my job. So but yes, the Avanzando Liderazgo program, it's like our premier fellowship program. And we have over 50 alumni now that serve in different councils, boards, have been promoted, have been in different positions of power, as they grow in their career. And I just got to say, like, si eres Latino, and you want to, do some leadership and professional development, like LatinoLEAD is for you. And so come to
Exactly.
us. We have lots of other programs and events right throughout the year. Check us out, right? Follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, see what we're up to, be a part of us, give us feedback, be honest. I always welcome that too. But we're here to serve you. We're here to help make your dreams come true. And so I'm thankful. I'm thankful that the program exists and that you were able to uplift that.
I am excited about it. I haven't joined it yet, but I look forward to joining maybe in the future to see what it's all about, because, I know it's an amazing. I've been there. Hopefully one day I can be a speaker at one of those events too, for you there. But, hint, hint, just throw that out there. But thank you so much for being here again, Brenda. This is so amazing. I wanted to just showcase all the different leaders that are out here, especially with Latino Lead. It's been one of those organizations that I've seen grow from just one person to the amazing team that there is right now, and how it's grown to be not only a local nonprofit organization but global, because it has been expanded to global, people. If you haven't been to the LeaderCon conference, you need to check it out. That's coming up sometime at the end of this year.
Mhm.
More details will come about that throughout, if you're following Latino Lead, like she mentioned, on Instagram. But you can also follow Valentin Consulting. Valentin Consulting is your go-to bookkeeping, payroll, and tax professional for those small, non-traditional businesses. Many people do not know that they can afford the services that we offer at Valentin Consulting, and we're so pleased to say that we have partnered with Latino Lead and other nonprofit organizations in the community, and not just in our local area. Outside of our local area, we have been able to do that. Also, we have a program called Prime America Legal Program, which also helps individuals that can't afford legal services. We have partnered up with Prime America to be able to offer you this program. It's only $28 a month. You get 100+ attorneys that can help you with any type of situation that you have. And if you haven't heard about them, please reach out to info@valentin.com, because we can share that information with you, and it will be helpful for those individuals that feel like they don't have or don't know about their rights right now as immigrants in this country. So thank you again, Brenda. And Valentin Consulting is here. We have a huge lineup of guest speakers coming up in the next couple months, all the way to the end of the year. You do not want to miss it. So continue to come and get your information from all these powerful leaders. We are in different experts of fields of accounting, business services, coaching. We are passionate about what we're sharing, and we want to be passionate about that. If you are interested in being a guest speaker in our show, please reach out to us at info@valentin.com. Like and share and subscribe to our channel so you can get those notifications. I'm Dr. Daisy Valentin, and thank you for joining us today. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.